So all my items here, my IK handles and my joints and everything, nothing has any animation on it. I'm starting at point 0. So the first thing I'm going to do is set up segments where only the gastroscope moves. And I'm going to create movement. Then I'm going to hold the gastroscope perfectly still for a period of time, create movement, freeze the gastroscope, and then fully retract it. So I'm on frame 1. I'm going to choose my IK handle for the gastroscope. And I'm inside the animation set now. Okay, that's F4 if you want to use a keyboard command, but I'm inside the animation set. And I'm going under key. And I'm going down to where it says set IKFK key, and you notice this enable IK solver has a check mark. So the IK solver is on. That's what that value of 1 means, right? That means the spline IK is in total control, and I'm going to say set. And then I'm going to go to frame 120. I'm sorry, I'm going to go to frame 102, and I'm going to change the offset value to 0.22. So now there's my scope. And I'm going to go back to that same menu and set it. So again, my IK blend is still 1. My offset's 22, so I should see the scope come down. Okay. Now I'm going to go to frame 1. Well, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to frame 102. This is where I just set it. And I'm going to copy it. And then I'm going to go to frame 160, about 40 frames later, or I'm sorry, 60 frames later, 2 seconds later. And I'm going to paste. Okay, now what should happen is I just pasted all the values from 102 to the key frame to frame 160, so nothing should move. Now, if we go with this scope selected, if I go under Windows, Animation Editors, and go to the Graph Editor, and I click on just the offset, you should see this is what we have. So we started at frame 0. This is the value. This is the frame numbers up here. So the offset value is 0 at frame 0. And as we went to frame 102, the value of the offset increased until it got to 0.22. I can't imagine you can see that. It's really dark. Okay. Now, this is what I just did though. I copied 102 and pasted it at 160. So you notice I have a perfectly straight line. So whenever you want your animation to sit still for a period of time, you just don't want something to move. It needs to be a horizontally straight line. That means it's changing time without changing whatever value you're measuring over here, whether it be rotation. In this case, it's offset. So anytime you try to make something sit perfectly still and you see some movement, go into the graph editor and check to see that this is a straight line. If it's not, you can grab the 2 frames where you want the straight line and go under tangent and say linear, and that will make sure it stays straight. Okay, so I've got 160. Now what I'd like it to do is retract up a little bit. So I'm going to go to, let's say, 208 here. And I'm going to change my offset value. So let's say 1.3. Oops, I'm sorry. 0.13, I'm sorry. Okay, that's where I am. Let's make that just a little bit. Okay, right about there. All right, so now I'm on frame 208, so 40 seconds, so I'm like a little more than 1 second. And I'm going to say same thing I did before. Key, set key, okay. And then I'm going to go to frame 251. I want, again, a second phase where the scope offset is static so that I can move the scope. And so what I'm going to do in here is I'm going to change this to I'm going to go to frame a little further down, about a second later, and again do my okay, and then I'm going to go to the end, which even though my sound is ending here, I'm going to, just to give myself a reasonable pace, I'm going to go here to about 314 and set my offset to 0.02, which should get it out of the scene. And then again, key. Okay. Now if I did this right, let me turn the sound off. What we should see is the scope should come down, stop, hold still for a period of time, retract a little bit, hold still, and then retract the rest of the way out.